Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. I have a themed video today, and from the date you can probably guess that it is Halloween related. I read some dark-ish, some slightly spooky romances for the spooky season. I am the biggest scaredy cat. I cannot do horror, like no horror movies or theme park kind of stuff. All of that will make me cry and make me have nightmares for a week. But I still wanted to do something Halloween related, so I read some slightly darker books than usual. I read some Mafia romances, some romantic suspenses, a Gothic romance, and some horror romances that weren't quite as scary, which was perfect for me. So I read a total of 8 books over the last week and a half. I didn't really vlog it just because I prefer just talking about it towards the end. So here I am. The first 2 books that I read were Mafia romances, kind of also romantic suspense, but not quite as suspenseful as the other 2 romantic suspenses that I read. But the first one that I read was Cruel Paradise by J.T. Geissinger. This is actually book 2 in a series. I know, reading out of order, I usually don't, but I already own this one, so I might as well just read it. But I did read the series that this series is a spin-off of, so I thought that probably counted enough. But it is book 2 of the Beautifully Cruel series. Both books are about twin brothers. The first book is Liam, and this book is about Killian. Killian was the one who was introduced in the other series that I read, the Dangerous Beauty series, which I did really enjoy, and I loved Killian's character in that series. So I was very excited that the author actually wrote his book. Killian is an anti-hero, or that's what the blurb tells us he is. He does bad things to good and bad people. He's in the Mafia, he's the leader of the Boston underworld, and he ends up falling for a thief who steals something from him. Usually when someone steals something from him, he would just kill them off them, but he is very intrigued by this gorgeous woman named Jules. It is almost insta-love. It's definitely insta-lust on his part, well, both their parts, but she's in denial. But basically from the very beginning, Killian is very much into Jules and all the way into wanting to be with her. I don't have any problem with insta-love, at least if it's on the hero's part, but it just wasn't quite what I was expecting. I expected this book to be a little bit darker, a little bit grittier, but it was actually a lot of fun to read, very almost lighthearted. It is definitely the most lighthearted of all the books that I read, mainly because the heroine Jules is very sarcastic. She and Killian have a lot of great banter together. There was just a lot of humor in this one that I didn't expect at all, but I did end up enjoying it. Killian is very much an alpha male who goes after what he wants. Jules easily stands up to him, doesn't fall into him as quickly as he would like. There is a little bit of action, some suspense, but it's just a very lighthearted Mafia romance. So if you want a Mafia romance that's not actually dark, this is a good one to pick up. I'm giving it 4 stars. And then the second Mafia romance that I read was Sweet Temptation by Cora Reilly. This is actually our October Ravished by Romance book club read. Our live show is this Friday. It will probably already have happened by the time I upload this video, but I'll leave a link to it because me and Jessica have some thoughts on it. But I was really excited about this one because I know a lot of people love Cora Reilly. She has been recommended to me so many times, both on here, YouTube, and on Instagram. And also when I posted about this on my Instagram, I got so many comments telling me how much they loved it. Although there were also some comments telling me that this didn't work for them. And I'm really sad that I didn't actually love this one as much as I wanted to, as much as it seemed like everyone else did. It was my first time reading Cora Reilly. It's a standalone, so I figured this is fine to start with, though I do eventually want to read like her other popular series. So Sweet Temptation, Mafia romance, Marriage of Convenience, Age Gap, and Single Dad, all of which I love reading about, but it just sadly didn't quite work out all that well for me when I was reading this one, mainly because I just was not a fan of this author's writing. I absolutely don't like writing that's all telling and no showing, and this book was pretty much all telling. So the writing turned me off right from the start. It was very much like this happened and then that happened and then this happened and then that happened, and I never really fell in love with the romance either. The beginning was so unromantic. I was honestly like, how are these two supposed to fall in love? Cassio and Julia are our main characters. Cassio is in need of a wife after he supposedly killed his wife and the mother of his children. He doesn't really want a wife, but he needs one for duty duty because he's an underboss in the Italian Mafia, and for his motherless children. He gets engaged to Julia, who is the daughter of another underboss, while she's 17, and then they wait until she's 18 to actually get married. The age gap wasn't the biggest deal to me because she's 18, plus it's a mafia romance, so it wasn't like I was reading contemporary, like real life contemporary, but the beginning of their marriage was just so unromantic to me. Cassio was basically using Julia as his nanny and of course someone to sleep with, and I get that it wasn't supposed to be romantic in the beginning, but I didn't even see the potential either. Once I read a little bit more though, it did get a little bit better for me. I was at least a little bit more invested in Cassio and Julia, but honestly there is not a lot of things that happen in this book besides Julia taking care of Cassio's two children. She basically becomes their surrogate mother, and she actually teaches him how to better take care of his children after the loss of their mother. The kids are okay. I usually do love children in books because they're always super cute or super funny. These two were okay. Daniele is the young son, and then Simona is like the 1 or 2 year old baby. So Julia has a lot on her plate at 18 years old. I did admire the fact that she never really backed off or backed down from Cassio. So I'm giving this one 3 stars. I wish I could have loved it more. I'm hoping I do like her other series better, but based on her writing, I can't say that I have very high expectations for it. The next 2 books that I read were my romantic suspenses, one of which was a post-apocalyptic romance. Radio Silence by Alyssa Cole is the post-apocalyptic one. I've been wanting to read this book and the series ever since I discovered that Alyssa Cole had a post-apocalyptic series. There are 3 books about 3 siblings, 3 Korean siblings. So in this post-apocalyptic world, there is no more electricity, no power, no running water. Everything is just gone. There's no more laws, no more rules, so people are on their own and trying to survive on their own. Radio Silence is book 1, and we have Arden, our heroine, who falls in love with her roommate's older brother. She and her roommate John are on the run, trying to get to his family's cabin to safety, but then scavengers attack them and almost kill them. But then Gabriel, John's older brother, comes in and saves the day. Gabriel and Arden do not get along, mainly because of how angry Gabriel is at Arden for putting John's life in danger, which I never really understood. Everyone's in danger, everyone's trying to get to safety. But yeah, they don't like each other, but they do have some really good chemistry between them. They do make it to the safe house, Arden and the 3 Song siblings. The siblings' parents, though, are missing, and Gabriel wants to find them. But most of this book does take place in this small cabin. Tensions are running high, there's cabin fever. The tension between Arden and Gabriel starts to rise more and more until it finally bursts. There was a lot of potential, and I would have enjoyed this more, except for the fact that it was boring, mainly because not much happens while they're in this cabin, and they're in this cabin for so long. There also wasn't much world building either. Like, I like these 2 characters, I like the romance for the most part, but everything outside of it, there just wasn't enough substance to it. I just wanted a little bit more to this one, which is why I'm giving it 3 stars. I am curious about the other 2 books in the series though, about Gabriel's 2 siblings. Book 2 is MM, and then the last book is the sister story. I will say though, the one thing that really threw me off when I was listening to the audiobook was the narrator's pronunciation of the sibling's last name. She kept saying Seong, and I'm pretty sure that's not right, like it's just Song. So that was just a little weird. And then the other romantic suspense I read was Whiteout by Adriana Anders. This one was actually recommended from Kennedy Ryan a long time ago during our live chat for her book Queen Move. We were talking about romances set in Antarctica, and this book came up. I finally ended up reading it, and it was okay, not too bad. I did struggle with it a little bit, trying to get into the book, trying to get into the audiobook. I had to restart it like 3 times because I just wasn't paying attention. The suspense part I really did enjoy. I thought that was really well done, but the romance part I just wasn't completely sold on. The hero is a scientist. Cooper is stationed in Antarctica to do some research. The heroine is the hired chef for the station. It's nearing nearing the end of her stay in Antarctica, but then people start dying. Angel, the heroine, witnesses a group of people killing off some of the researchers because they want this really deadly virus. So now those bad guys are after her and she's just trying to survive. She comes across Cooper, who she doesn't have the best relationship with. He is the biggest grump and has basically ignored her the whole time that she's been working there. But now they are forced to work together to survive together, to live in such harsh conditions in the freaking South Pole. And even though Cooper, who Angel calls Ford, he has been such a huge jerk to her, they do have this underlying attraction to each other. So they're trying to survive in this ice cold place, but then things heat up between them. The romance is okay. I can't say that I ever really felt that invested in it, but I was really intrigued by all the things that happened in Antarctica, how they have to save rations for energy, how they stay warm, all the while being hunted by people who want to kill them. The suspense here was really good, so I'm giving it 3.5 stars. Apparently, we're also getting another book in the series, but this time it's set in Alaska. So I am excited to see how that one turns out. And then I read some horror romances, except they weren't quite as scary as I thought they were. First one is Dark House by Karina Halle. This one is the new cover that looks really, really nice. It's got a lighthouse because it's about a haunted lighthouse. Dark House is the first book in the Experiment in Terror series, which has been on my TBR for years. It's a horror romance series with a slow burn romance. So the series follows one couple, Perry and Dex, and the romance does not quite develop in this first one. Probably picks up in the later books. So if you're expecting a lot of romance here, there is not, but there are some ghosts and some weird stuff happening. The heroine, Perry, is like any other 20-something-year-old woman trying to make a life for herself, get her life together, except for the fact that she also sees ghosts. She goes to explore this supposedly haunted lighthouse, and that's where she comes across Dex, the hero, who is a video producer, and they realize that there is actually something mysterious and very haunted about this lighthouse. They team up together. She gets hired to do this show that he's filming, and they pretty much go ghost hunting in this lighthouse. This book wasn't quite as scary as I was expecting it to be. I was expecting like horror, but there was some creepiness, just a little, but mainly just a whole mystery about this lighthouse. There's a little bit of suspense and action towards the end, but not quite the horror that I was expecting. Before I first spoke, it was a good start to a series. I didn't love it, but I still did enjoy it for the most part. It's like 3.5 stars. It just shows a lot of promise and a lot of potential for the rest of the series that I actually really do want to continue with. And also, I do really want to see Dex and Perry's romance pick up more. This book, Dex has a girlfriend, so honestly not much happens. You just see the potential of it. It is a long series though. We have 10 books. The 10th book is coming out pretty soon, so we'll see if I do end up being able to catch up before book 10 releases. The two other horror romances that I read were zombie romances, post-apocalyptic zombie romances, the 2 books part of the same series, which are Flesh and Skin by Kylie Scott. Flesh is book 1. It's actually an MFM romance. The second book and the only other book in the series is Skin. That one is an MF romance, but I really enjoyed these two. I'm giving them both 4 stars. They were a lot of fun. The audiobooks were so good, but I will say though, I didn't take these books too seriously because the heroes are kind of creeps. They basically just kidnap the heroines for themselves because these guys realize that she's the one for him, so they just take her for themselves. So Stockholm Syndrome is a bit of a thing here. So again, didn't really take these books seriously. I was just in it for the zombies and for the sexy times. So it's another post-apocalyptic series, except this time there are zombies, and the zombies are contagious. If you get bitten by one, you become one. So civilization is in ruins. People are just trying to survive. People are dying left and right from zombies, from other people. Allie, the heroine of book 1, she's on the run by herself, except she doesn't really know how to protect herself. So like lucky for her, she runs into Dan, one of our heroes. Dan is an older man, there's a bit of an age gap here, but as soon as Dan sees Allie, he's like, she's the one for me, I have to do everything I can to protect her, provide for her. So he steals her away and forces her to stay with him. They band together and then they come across the other hero, Finn, who is an ex-cop. Finn ends up saving their lives when this gang tries to steal Allie away and kill Dan. So this is where the fun begins, where the MFM part of the romance starts up. Allie is a bit hesitant at first because she thinks that it's just Dan for her, but then Dan realizes that no, two people are better at protecting her than just one. So they all end up in bed together. It's great, very hot. There's also a ton of action as well as they try to protect themselves, kill other zombies. It was great. And then book 2, which is Skin, it picks up right where Flesh left off, but with another couple. Rosalind is a former librarian who has been living in this school with a group of people. She ends up being taken or like given to a guy named Nick. Nick is completely devoted to her from the very beginning. He, like Dan, will do everything he can for Rosalind to protect her, except for the fact that he won't let her go. He is obsessed with her and of course wants her in his bed. She tries to escape, but he always brings her back. He ends up having to chain her for a bit. They do form a truce and Rosalind does try to see Nick through his actions, through the way that he puts her life before his. She's everything to him, and I just love seeing that in a hero. The heroine does put herself in a lot of situations where Nick has to save her and protect her, but honestly, I had no problem with that. There's just a lot going on, a lot of action, a lot of suspense. Of all the books that I read, these 2 books were definitely the most action-filled. People killing, people dying, people running from zombies, but it was just a lot of fun, and I had a great time reading these 2. And then the last book that I read is a Gothic romance, and that is The Widow of Rose House by Diana Biller. I've heard really good things about this one and I've been wanting to read it, but I ended up saving it for the spooky season because yes, it is a Gothic historical romance. It is Gilded Age set in New York. We have a haunted mansion and our main characters are trying to find out if there is a ghost or not. Of all of these books that I read, this book was probably the creepiest. It definitely gave me some creepy vibes, especially when they started talking about a girl in an asylum. And when I read it at night, I had to stop myself and save it for the next morning. It's not scary, but just very creepy. But here we have a widow who has returned to America and has bought a haunted mansion. She's trying to spruce it up, but all the construction workers refuse to work on it. So she asks our professor hero for some help in some ghost hunting. He's a scientist. He wants to do experiments to see if there really is a ghost. Sam comes from a family of scientists and I adore his family. His parents have the loveliest love story. His siblings were hilarious and so fun and loving together. His family is like the idyllic family, whereas Alva, she came from an abusive husband whose death saved her life. Alva has some scars. Sam is the most cinnamon rolly hero ever. He is the absolute sweetest. He is so intrigued by Alva from the very beginning, from the moment that he sees her, and he just can't get her out of his mind and falls hard and fast for her. Sam is definitely the highlight of this romance. I adored his character so much. He's a genius, but a bit of an absent-minded one, so very endearing. I really enjoyed their banter together. The romance was really great, and the haunted mansion part was really well done. It's not scary. I say spooky, but that's just because I'm a scaredy cat and a lot of things are easily scary to me, but it was just a really good Gothic romance. Definitely hit the Gothic vibes. This one is a debut as well. It was just really great, giving it 4 stars. Those are all the books that I read for the spooky season. If you're looking for any books to read for Halloween, a couple of these are great ones. I am a little sad that I didn't pick up any like actual dark romances. I was kind of hoping one of the Mafia ones would be it, but no. But I did really like the ghost ones and the zombie ones. Highly recommend Widow of Rose House and Flesh and Skin by Kylie Scott. Dark House and the whole Experiment in Terror series would probably be a good one to binge, especially if you like ghost hunting. Let me know if you've read any of these books, any of these authors, or tell me if you read some horror, scary romances, if you have any of your favorites. Maybe I'll save them for next year. Links for everything will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!